Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review, and today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Battle Beast, Circus of Doom, out January 21st on Nuclear Blast. This album has 10 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a Finnish heavy metal band, and I stress heavy metal because I really feel over the last couple of records they move slightly away from that more traditional power metal sound, and they allow themselves to have more of a diverse approach, and that gives you a lot more to play with and obviously has an impact on the sound, on the structure, on how the albums are put together. Now this record is interesting because the first time that I listened to it, I didn't enjoy the experience. Not because the songs weren't good, just I didn't like the way it was put together. I didn't like the overall design. I felt like the record was a little bit clunky. I didn't feel like it had a path for me. It made me really wonder around what was happening. I was a little bit lost within it. And at the end of the experience, I wasn't really sure if this was the best design possible for the quality of the songs that the record actually holds. The more that I listened to the record, the more I realized that I came into the album with a preconceived idea of how I wanted this record to move, where I wanted it to start, how I wanted to transport the listener across every single song, and where I wanted it to finish. And that perhaps is the problem, because the more I took those layers away, the more I removed that preconceived thought process, the better the record sounded, the better the record felt, the better the record came together. I'm still not a huge fan of Circus of Doom as the opening track. It has a nice built-in intro, and that is kind of what brings that song into that starting point, but I wanted an opening track that had a little bit more power, that had a little bit more oomph, that grabs the attention of the listener immediately, and then it becomes a lot easier for you to progress down the line. It's not the case. It doesn't have a negative impact overall, but it does kind of give you that rough start, if you will, at least if you're expecting something a little bit more bombastic, as I was. Having said that, I enjoy the overall fluidity. I love the ebbs and flows that this record offers. The album feels slightly stronger on the first half than it does on the second, but the ability to change dynamics, the ability to change the eyesight of the listener is something that's really important for the band, and I feel like it's really important for the listener, so you don't feel like you're stopping in time, that there's a portion of the record that sounds exactly the same or feels exactly the same, and this album doesn't really do that. It's very diverse in its approach throughout all 10 songs. Now, once you get into the soundscape, the album has that power metal bass line, and that is where you start off. But this record really offers a wide array of influences, from symphonic metal to pop to classic heavy metal and everything in between. You really see all of these elements coming together in order to create not just different sound experiences from song to song, but still allowing those experiences to be somewhat connected and have a rich overall delivery throughout all 10 songs. It doesn't really matter what's in the forefront of the track or how you feel towards it or the power that it has or the lack of power that it offers. The quality of sound, that sound quality, stays very consistent from start all the way to the finish line. Now, within that sound, this record has a lot for the listener to digest. I want to start off with the keyboards. This record is the perfect example of how you can use keyboards or synths on an album without forcing the listener to really feel them at every single turn. They're there, but they don't need to slap me in the face every 5 seconds to let me know that they're there. And that's exactly what this album does. They play an important role in the atmosphere of the songs and changing the mood that the tracks have, going exactly where the theme of the song is going, creating melodies, creating balance, creating movement, but they're not necessarily right in front of you at every single turn. So that kind of diluted way of putting them into the tracks, of making sure that they're part of the picture, but they don't become the picture, to me is the winning formula for any band that has this sort of sound, that has this sort of approach. And I tip my hat to them for putting something together on this record that really walks that fine line, that finds the perfect balance for them so that they have a positive impact and not a negative one in the overall experience. The drums, the same thing. I really enjoy the fact that they weren't one size fits all from start to finish. If you look at this record and you look at a song that's more powerly driven, a more power metal based style track, for example, they have a lot more force, they have a lot more oomph, they have a lot more depth, they ground the record and they create volume and heaviness. If you look at a song that has more of a symphonic drive, they go in a more lighter perspective, becoming a little bit more of an element that helps you move the song along, but it doesn't necessarily hold it down. If you look at tracks that have more of a pop influence, they sound completely different. They sound a little bit more like you would sound if you were creating a pop song. So the drums morphed, grew, changed, adapt to the style of song and the overall theme that the track had in order to make the soundscape feel balanced, cohesive, but at the same time diverse. Last but not least, I have to talk about the guitars. The guitar solos on this record are outstanding. Tell me if you listen to this album and there is a guitar solo that doesn't fit the track or that feels that it was too much. There isn't one. Every solo adds value to the songs. Every solo adds value to the overall design of the record. The guitar playing on this album really stands out as one of the key elements that grabs your attention, that holds your attention, that guides your experience and makes this album feel dynamic, diverse, and still connected all at the same time. Obviously, Nora's vocals, what can I say? She's phenomenal on this record, on any record, and she proves that she has the range to really adapt to any style that this band decides to throw at her. The power metal side of the band, she obviously can deliver. The more pop, the more softer side of the band, she's also there. She has the energy, she has the tone, she has the delivery. She's able to change her registry ever so slightly in order to match that soundscape better. The songs that have a little bit more of a ballad style, she can also go there. There isn't any genre within this album or any genre that influences the songs on this record that she doesn't do a phenomenal job with them. Her voice is definitely a beacon. She continues to be the beast in this band, and on this record she proves it once more. Now, all around, I feel like this is an album that took me a long time, or at least a few plays, in order for me to really get into it. So that might be a problem for some, because they may not give this record the necessary time for you to really enjoy it, for you to really get everything that it has to offer. The diversity of sound and diversity of soundscapes in some points may push the listener away because they may want something more consistently power driven, and that's not how this album moves. This album really has a lot of different looks, a lot of different feels, but I think there's almost something there for everybody. And if there's something I gotta say about this record, is that this is definitely an improvement over No More Hollywood Endings. That album wasn't as strong as this one is. It was not as connected as this one is, and it doesn't have the sound quality or performance behind it that this one does. This album is much stronger musically and vocally, regardless of how you feel towards it. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Wings of Light. The opening scream is trademark Nora Battle Beast. That opening scream is phenomenal. And then this track has a really cool bass line. The bass really pops in this song, and it helps connect the track. It holds the verses down. It allows them to be a little bit more stripped down, at least in that first verse, which is really important on how you build the track and how you move forward. The song always moves towards the chorus. It always has this exponential growth towards the chorus, and then the chorus explodes musically and vocally, and following that with an incredible solo that just has so much life, so much energy. This is a track that has energy. I mean, it's Wings of Light, so you're going to have energy in the song. And the solo just is the fuel that you add into the fire to make that energy feel even brighter and even bigger. The symphonic bridge that follows the solo is really interesting because it connects the song back into the chorus, allowing the track to not feel choppy, allowing the track to not feel clunky, and have more of a fluid motion to it. Finishing the song with another solo, phenomenal. Really old school style heavy metal, really old school style approach that works extremely well for how this song feels, for how this song sounds. Next you have Freedom. It has a little bit of a slow intro, but then the song opens up, like you open up the book and everything starts to come alive. It's a track that has a lot of power in the verses. It really drives the song forward. It has a galloping riff, best way to describe it. You really feel like you're on top of a horse as you're moving along throughout this entire track. The chorus is more melodic. It slows things down. I don't feel like it pauses the track. This is not a track that you can pause, but it definitely has a sense of slowing that movement, that galloping that exists in the verses. It's not there in the chorus, so you feel immediately that the song is coming a little bit, not to an abrupt stop, but it's definitely yielding. It's slowing down as you're moving through it. Another great song with another great solo. What can I say? It just has that ability to elevate the quality of the songs, always coming at the right time, at the right place, with the right melody, with the right sound, right execution. This one is no different. And then you have the choirs that are used throughout this entire track that really bring some power to the song. Not that Nora needed that power behind her, but it does make the song feel overall bigger, more powerful, more driven, allowing it to have a little bit of a crescendo to it, more layers to it, making it a little bit thicker all around. And then the way the drums finish off this track with the heaviness, with the power, with the thumping, an exclamation mark right at the end. Last but not least, Place What We Call Home. Place That We Call Home is the last track on this album, and I think it's the best song to finish the record with, because it has elements that we hadn't really seen, or if we did see them, we saw them very sporadically throughout the entire record. This is more of a symphonic driven song. I would go as far as to say that this is a symphonic power metal song. At least it has a little bit of power metal and a lot of symphonic elements in it. And when you bring these two worlds together, I think this band has all the tools to use this sort of approach, to use this sort of influence into their sound a little bit more. This song is a perfect example that they can pull it off, that they can do it. Having a vocalist like Nora helps, and without that vocalist, I don't think you can even get close to it. But they also have the knowledge and the baseline as far as musicianship is concerned to really drive a song like this, to really create something bombastic, something epic. This song is absolutely epic. Almost cinematic at times in the way it's constructed, in the way it sounds, how big it is, and the way it's delivered. Perfect song to finish the album because it really finishes with a bang. It really finishes with the biggest sounding track that the album has. And I don't think you can put this track anywhere else because it's so different from everything else that has to come at the end in order to be that curtain that comes down and closes the record altogether. This is it, Battle Beast with Circus of Doom, out January 21st on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.